we're talking about our comebacks, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about when we talk about comebacks, we're gonna talk about established acts as far as opposed to new acts and how like the different years that they had. So speaking of Crayon Pop did do some fantastic stuff this year, early on this year with their track "Oi, Oi." Kind of getting to escape the helmets finally. Coming up with a new interesting visual, which excited me. And of course, like I said before, I love Crayon Pop, so I was in. Uh, what do you remember? How did looking back did it win you over? Did it impress you? Their early release this year.
I liked it. I, I liked it a lot more than kind of some of the other stuff. I thought it was, but it kept the fun, silly sensibility that Crayon Pop has,
Yeah.
which is really cool. Um, which I think is just kind of what they should be and kind of what they should stick to because it's fun, it's what everybody likes from them, and it gives them their unique quality.
Hmm.
So it's one of those things. It may not. Crayon Pop overall may not resonate with me personally, but I am impressed by a lot of the things that they do.
Oh yeah, there's so much fun. They had a fantastic year with this release. They a collaboration they did for firefighters, which was awesome. Hero, uh, and kind of having a really solid year, kind of variety show wise. Touring with Lady Gaga, which looking back was just a fantastic media play opportunity. Also, they've dominated on Let's Go Dream Team, winning all with four show wins, including dominating traditional Korean wrestling because Soyeol is the thug queen of K-pop. She's if you've ever seen if you've never seen the gun she's packing, you should check it out because she can invite you to the gun show, uh, with her down. But yeah, Crayon Pop had a fantastic year this year on a couple of levels, and it was just so cool to see. And Oi impressed me, uh, really well, and of course, like I said, Soil will invite you to the gun show, right there. Uh, Let it load. Yeah, right there. The gun show. There you go. But yeah, Crayon Pop. Yes, pop, pop, yo, pop. But some more interesting artists. Spica
Hmm. Hmm.
had a pretty solid year this year as well. Spica started off this year with a comeback with "You Don't Love Me," which was almost kind of looking back. It almost feels like it happened a while ago, but it happened this year, and it did happen a while ago
Yeah.
because it was several months ago. But it was a solid release at the beginning of the year. It was a fantastic track. It was a great follow up to Tonight, which was another fantastic track. It was a cool style. It had hilarious giant butt pads, and they looked absolutely lovely in the video. And it was a cool start to their year. Almost was supposed to be last year, but it kind of got pushed back because apparently Ihori wanted to sing about poop, if I
Right.
remember memory serves me right, and it almost got censored, so they had to push it back. But it was a fantastic track, and then they followed up with kind of doing more promotions with a U.S. release, uh, which was interesting and actually ended up impressing me. I think impressing the both of us with their U.S. release, with their English language debut, with "I Did It," and another, came out with an odd unit in Spica S, and now are poised to
So,
possibly have a solo debut by Kimboa. But
yeah.
so far, they didn't quite get a full on mainstream breakthrough, but they did have a pretty solid year this year, wouldn't you say?
Oh no, definitely. Like Spica definitely impressed this year. Like Spica's kind of been always kind of been this group on the like lower side of my favorite girl groups, right? You go, oh man, like can't wait for that release from blah blah. Can't wait for that release from blah da da. Then you're like, oh, Spica's putting out something. That's cool. Like, and you don't mean it in the like whatever way. You're still excited about it, but they're in that lower end of the girl groups you like. You know,
Yeah.
this year they really, really, really showed how good they are, and they put in fucking work, man. Like they came out and they did it, and they did it good. And I'm not saying Spica hasn't put in work before, but once again, I'm saying in that circle of like girl groups you know and love, you know, your 2NE1s, your Girls' Generations, whatever you want to put in there, you know, for me, Spica was always kind of at the lower end. But
Yeah.
this is making me like really, really love Spica and really, really want more.
Yeah, I want more. I
Like,
want more people to like them, and they're always, of course, they're always on that forefront of people's list of like underrated groups or underrated girl groups, especially,
right.
and for a reason because they are really good. They like I said, they are the I like to call them the girl group of misfit toys because they've all come from different agencies. They've all kind of been, they've had to put their work in. They've all paid their dues, and so far have had minimal success and have had to try to really scratch out what little progress they can. And of course, now they've got the guidance of the Queen Ihori. Uh, they have her guidance, so that's going to help out a lot. But I'm really looking forward to some more from Spica. It's just this year they definitely impressed, and I'm glad for them. That day, if that day comes when they finally get that first music show win, it's gonna be an emotional moment for them, and it's gonna be an exciting moment for I think a lot of K-pop fans that have been kind of championing them as the group that people should check out. Uh, so yeah, Spica, fighting. Uh,
Yeah.
Moving on. So another group that had an interesting year to say the least. Had a tough start to the year, but I think found their footing and actually kind of are good now and have kind of landed well, which is Kata. So Kata started off the year losing two of their most popular members. Speaking of being Nicole and Kanji Young, had to regroup, had to rethink of what was gonna be their approach. Decided
Yeah.
that they were gonna have a little mini reality show, a little mini kind of audition show, called Baby Kata. A lot of people were skeptical, understandably so, wondering who's gonna be picked. Somebody was picked. A lot of there was a lot of questions of who deserved to be picked. We got new member Youngji out of all of this. Then they released the new song Mamma Mia, and it actually turned out to be a pretty solid release. Youngji started appearing on variety shows, and she is adorable and hilarious, and really kind of won people over really well. And Kata is back and doing well. I mean, they're not quite at the level they used to be, but they landed. They stuck the dismount. uh, they had a tough beginning of the year, but they stuck the dismount, and at the end of the day, had a pretty solid year. All things considered, would you agree with my assessment of kind of the year?
Yeah, I wasn't super impressed by the new Kara. I liked it, but I was kind of like very meh about it. Um, it's it's one of those things where it's kind of weird where I think I got used to how because it's almost a new sound in a sense with
Yeah,
what they premiered with, and I liked Kara. I really did like Kara, and I think I was just used to what they used to sound like.
yeah, yeah, and I have to say, yeah, yeah, it was kind of a different sound, a different approach, a lot more like disco, a lot more. It was always funny hearing them describe the dance moves as whacking, kind of going back to that, whacking. But yeah, it was that kind of bringing back that style of dance, kind of the disco dancing style dance, and it was an interesting release, and it was an interesting kind of transformation for Kara, going back to a four-person group before they brought in Hara, having to kind of mark a new identity for themselves in a sense again, like even though they've been around for so long. Uh, but I think even if you weren't into the song, I think they still did, like I said, stick the landing. They still landed well, given kind of how they started the year. And I think in the end, I think they're better. They're better off, like position wise, than I would say a lot of groups out there are. Uh, and I think they're going to be well. And I adore Youngji. Like Youngji on Roommate is hilarious, and her and Jackson kind of being like best friends, like bickering all the time.
I
Or
gotta watch Roommate.
you
I gotta
gotta
watch the
watch
new
Roommate.
Roommate.
New season of Roommate. They like I said, I was right when I said it was exactly how I predicted when I said Sunny was taking her talents down to Roommate. It was like LeBron coming into the Heat. It was like that kind of revival. Suddenly, she was LeBron. I don't know. Youngji was. I don't know who else. I guess she was. Uh, I don't know. She was somebody else. June from God is freaking hilarious. June from God is the most ridiculous person on the planet. He is ridiculous. Jackson is hilarious. They work well together, being like JYP family, of course. So they're tight together and they're always with each other. And then Jackson and Youngji, because they're the same age, so obviously
Hmm.
they could kind of just be automatically friends. So they end up just being the most adorable like best friends possible couple, bickering with each other and constantly fighting and uh like going on adventures together and being young and ridiculous. And Sunny Sunny comes and goes. I think Sunny doesn't feature a lot. I think she's more laying in the cut like a bandage. Like, I think a lot of her work might be more of like that support role, like like being behind the scenes of helping these other people that aren't as like variety show savvy.
Yeah.
I think a little bit like how she was on Invincible Youth with like Hillman. She's probably kind of helping these people out, in the background. So I think that's where she's contributing. But yeah, the new season of Roommate is worth checking out. Uh, like I've already figured out like the various different analogies for Heat members. Like obviously Sunny is LeBron. Nana is Dwayne
Hmm.
Wade. Jose Ho, the little fat comedian dude, he's Mario Chalmers, specifically because he's good, but he's not as good as he thinks he is, and nowhere near as good as he wants you to believe he is. So, and then June from God is Chris Bosch because he's one hilarious ugly motherfucker. Uh,
Oh
but
my
moving on,
god.
Kara had a pretty good year. Another mainstay that had a pretty solid year that though we kind of forget about it was Secret, and what a pretty solid release. Secrets had I'm in Love, which is a very solid Secret release, in that it's a very solid release that fits in with Secret the group. Not that it happened secretly, but you know what I mean. Secret had the release with "I'm in Love," and it was actually it was a fan. I remember it was a pretty solid release. Say what you want about the company TS Entertainment, uh, which we'll say a lot about them when we talk about boy groups. Uh, Secret had a pretty solid song, and they as a group had a solid release. Hyosung had a pretty good release with her solo debut. Jiun had a pretty solid release with her solo song this year. Secret had a pretty solid, not mind
Yeah,
blowing year, not over the
yeah, not
top
mind
fantastic year.
blowing, but
Like,
Secret's just a really good, consistent group. That's what they are. They
yeah,
are so fucking consistent. They know their sound. They know how to experiment with their sound, and they know like where to do things differently.
yeah. It's just it was a pretty really solid release. It's like uh it was a fun song. It was a well constructed song. It was a cool video. Like it didn't do much, but it was a solid release. And Hyosung, god damn, Hyosung is sexy as hell. Like
You know what I'm also
her
noticing?
thickness is life is my life.
You know
Damn
what I'm
thighs.
also
Uh,
noticing? Watching a lot of these videos back to back is there's a lot of like cloudiness
hmm
in there. Like there's that Vaseline. It's either the Vaseline streak or post editing, like kind of cloudiness at the bottom of the screen,
Yeah,
like kind of shimmery things going on in a lot of these videos. Like
yeah.
just
It's like kind of
it's
that
weird.
odd filter thing they're doing right there. Like it's dreamlike.
Yeah.
It's a dream.
Yeah.
It's all a dream. Oh, that twerk.
Because
Also,
that's in the Kara video, the
yeah.
Mamma Mia video. Like it's in a lot of like that was like give it up for that this year, I guess. Like I don't know.
The diffusion, the lower screen diffusion. It was the year of the
Mm-hmm.
lower screen diffusion. Or I don't know what you would call it officially, but yeah. But yeah, like I said, Secret solid group. Hyosung, the thickness now, the thickness. But yeah,
All
uh,
right, getting to what are one of my favorites for this year.
uh, one of your favorites. We're gonna talk about them. These girls. We're talking about
Yeah,
FX. FX. FX had an odd year, but musically had a
yeah,
a pretty solid release. Of course, with FX, you know what it is. It was like Pink Tape. We have Red Light, an album release, which is kind of really cool because they don't have a lot of releases, but when they do release something, it is a full album. It is a fully thought out piece of music that you get to kind of really sink your teeth into, and it was a pretty fantastic album. In Red Light, they had a fantastic video release. They didn't promote long, but when they did, it was fun.
I will say I like a lot of the songs on Red Light more than Pink Tape.
Yeah, like it had a lot of. It's tough for me. Like I have an affection for Pink Tape. It's the album I'm thinking of putting on the docket for Record Breakers as my kind of my first K-pop introduction, official K-pop introduction for the guys. But it's still like a debate. Like Red Light
Yeah.
was such a
And
solid album.
God damn, I love the song Red Light. I love the song. I love the video. Like, oh, like fucking a man.
Yeah, it
Like, and
was.
I think fucking the funny thing is right, kind of the background history of this show and like all that the stuff that goes into it. FX, I think, is one of the first groups I showed you
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, definitely. Like as far as a musical group. Uh,
because I think that was when like New ABO was like
yeah.
the song that I just premiered from them, and I was like really getting into K-pop and like annoying people in Hangouts,
It's hard
like
to
hey, you want to
remember.
listen to something?
It very
Yeah,
well could be. It's hard to remember back what would have been like the first things he would introduce me to, but like it very well could be. It's hard to remember, but
no,
yeah,
it has to be because that's back. Like I think around that time was when New ABO was like was when they came out with that, and I was just looking for more things K-pop because I was coming off the whirlwind of learning about 2NE1 and Big Bang and all this stuff, and this little quiet group named FX
yeah,
was premiering. So that's just funny to see how much they've grown since I first knew about them with New ABO.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. FX as a group had their
and now
release.
PD has a fucking poster of them on his on his wall behind them.
Just
Like,
because I bought it with the CD, and I'm like, well, where can I put this? Doesn't fit over there. Doesn't fit over there. Oh, there's a space for it. Boom.
yeah,
And then it became my permanent background. I constantly have Victoria and Luna looking over my shoulder in every podcast I do.
right.
It's like they're constantly watching all my work and judging me. And then, of course, for all the for all the drama, there really is no reason to get into it. But for all the drama that happened with Sully's sudden kind of a hiatus, uh, they had a pretty solid year. Crystal, as part of as part of the reality show, Jekasuka and Crystal had a pretty successful kind of like reality show. She had a successful year being on on dramas, specifically starring alongside Rain on a main network drama, uh, which take putting my mixed feelings aside about the quality of the show, it's a pretty high profile it was a pretty high profile drama, and it was pretty solid. Victoria is going to star in the My Sassy Girl sequel, like of all things, of all movies to get a sequel 10 years 14 years later. My Sassy Girl, and Victoria is in there. Luna was appearing on on various things. Amber doing what Amber does, just being the capo di tutti copy of the English speaking mafia of K-pop, uh, which is always she's always there, being the godmother of K-pop, K-pop's English speaking mafia, you know. So there's that. uh, I think yeah, pretty solid year for FX, and I'm again, we talked about it at length with those couple episodes. I'm worried. I hope for the best. I mean, they've always been kind of, let's be honest, an afterthought for SM. Like the moment Red Velvet gets their fan club name, I'm gonna be pissed. Because FX, how long has FX been in the business? Has to be like 5 years now. 4, 5 years.
Maybe four.
Four.
Let's say four. Yeah.
They ain't got no fan club name. EXO got a fan club name. Freaking every other group on that label has a fan club name.
Yeah,
Except for
that's
FX
what we
and
need
Red
to
Velvet.
do, man. Like Hallyujuku needs to make a point on some things sometimes in the world. We need to march in the streets and fucking the mathematics. I don't know. Like we need to
Yeah.
come up with a goddamn fan club name for FX, and we need to get behind that shit. Like we need to champion that shit. Somebody give me Amber's number.
I think you have
Did that
ulterior
work?
motives. No, no, I
Did
don't-
that work? No.
no, I don't
Okay.
think so. Uh, but yeah, I mean, FX deserves better. Uh, but moving on
Yeah.
to another again, another long time veteran group, another veteran group having a solid year. For a couple of reasons, T-ara had a solid year, specifically with their release, their comeback, Sugar Free or Sugar Pre. Uh, the kind of exploring a different sound. So they're a group that has been through the ringer and has had their share of controversy, and has their share of haters. But it is a group that had decided kind of to just this year put out a club banger. They just decided, well, their label, CCM, or I guess now HM Entertainment, whatever they're called now, I think HMB or HBK or Heartbreak Kid Entertainment, I don't know what the hell, decided to put out a club banger, and that's what they did with Sugar Free. Like it was the big groove sound, kind of a an offshoot of house, and they did their T-ara thing, and it was a solid club banger. And this video is giving me a seizure. What were your thoughts, Kaz, while I recover?
I liked Sugar Free, like I did, but it's all I remember. I don't remember anything else.
What was a
Like,
solid release?
but
They kind of had their things. They also, they debuted in China. They kind of did their thing there. They had a newer release from that, where they came up with their cover of the Chopstick Brothers, a group well known in China, with their song "Little Apple." Kind of, for more or less, was a T-ara and a four track, except with different four members, but kind of almost doing their own crayon pop thing, but covering a Chinese artist song, with these guys that do
mhm.
this dumb dance, uh, and are kind of idiots. And we can't say it, but it was a fun song, and kind of advancing and having a couple solid releases and a couple of big, kind of career moves and career advances, and also the fact that now officially they are one of the, I think, the longest uh, living current girl groups that still have their debut lineup still intact. For all the controversies that they had, throughout their whole career, the girls that started the group are the girls that are there now,
Yeah.
and you got to give them
I
that.
mean, that used to be Girls' Generation until recently. Just to let you know how crazy the year has been.
Yeah, 2014 was a motherfucker. But it's like, for say what you want about them. They've had, and people. It's crazy to think that, because they've had lineup change issues, but it was always a person was added to the group, and it didn't work out, and they left. A person was added to the group, didn't work out, then left. It's like the original six with the original six, and they're still there, and it's the same lineup, and they don't show any signs of stopping with the same lineup. Of course, things can all change. I used to think that about Girls' Generation, and well, that didn't work out. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think they didn't have a million releases, but they had a pretty solid club banger, and they did have a lot of career advancement overall throughout the year, which is really cool for T-ara, and I'm looking forward to more from them, because I adore Hyomin. Ever since Invincible Youth, I kind of have a soft spot for Hyomin as a personality, and kind of as I don't, I'm not, my personality doesn't fit the variety show industry, but I'm gonna try anyways. Trying, kind of putting her best effort, and it was fun. But I have a soft spot for Hyomin. Uh, so I'm hoping for good things from T-ara. But moving on to other kind of groups. 4 Minute had some pretty solid release. We're gonna talk about Hyuna when we talk about solo singers, but 4 Minute had an actual pretty solid release this year. Once again, collabing with working with Brave Sound. Uh,
Hmm.
and kind of what it is. You were a big fan of this song, for sure. I know that, right, Kaz?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I fucking I don't know. I like 4 minute is I don't like I hate to seem like the guy that only roots for the established girl groups. You know, like
Yeah,
I like 4 minute. Like they do it and they do it right. You know.
doing it well. They're a great group. I think almost underrated as a group on some level, because everybody knows Hyuna, and even this video
Yeah.
puts her in the forefront. She
Yeah.
is, and honestly, a big part of their collective success really comes down to Hyuna's success. Um, but
Yeah.
but they are a really good group, and they put out some really fun song. They put out a really fun song this year, and they put a fun album to go along with it, and that they are talented as a group, and they for all, like, for all of the crap people give Brave Sound, and with good reason, for never changing their sound, never changing a sound. He at the very least designates the different slight variations of his one sound that he gives for each group, and does, at least can categorize them well. So he has at least come with a slightly unique version of his sound that fits 4 Minute well, uh, and
Yeah.
it makes for a really fun track. And I think for whatever, I think I do think that Hyuna really is not going to abandon 4 Minute. I think she does have an affection for 4 Minute, but yeah, as much as
Oh yeah, like we always talk about, right? And I don't know how this never crossed our mind, and it might have. I just don't remember, right? We talk about all these groups doing these like, oh, wanting to go solo, but what happens to all the other girls, you know? And Spica did they're gonna go solo with Kimboa and do Spica S, right?
yeah,
But we have these weird rumors about what is gonna happen when CL um goes solo, right? Fucking Hyuna does all kind of other projects, but nothing is ever different about 4 Minute.
yeah, like
You know what
it's
I'm
always
saying?
there.
4 Minute is 4 Minute. Yeah,
It's always there, and
but
you never think that they're not going to be there.
right.
And
But if Hyuna goes off, does her thing, and is queen bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's not anything that Hyuna herself wouldn't say. You
yeah,
know, like, it's just is what it is. Like, and it's all cool, and it's just like when they go and they do their 4 minute thing, that's what the fuck it is. It's 4 minute, and yeah, Hyuna might be at the center, but it's fucking 4 minute. Like, you never get the feeling that it's Hyuna and these other chicks. It's 4 minute, and then when Hyuna goes off and does her thing, that's Hyuna being Hyuna, queen bitch,
yeah, yeah. You gotta love that. But yeah, fantastic release from 4 Minute, and we're hoping for more success from them. They've always been a pretty solid group. But moving on, I want to talk about AKB48. I wanted to include something J-pop, and specifically AKB48, because they had a couple of solid releases, especially the kind of what was supposed to be the official graduation track, or at least the last. I think no, specifically the final track to have one of your faves, Oshima Yuko, as the center, Mayashika Mukune, which was even I said was a really fun classic J-pop track, and it was a really fun video, really fun release. Had a very had a very odd but very dramatic drama version music video for it, where there was like the apocalypse, and then they had they found shelter, and then they found an old stage, and suddenly it became a music video.
Yeah.
That was amazing, to say the least. And I wish I could find that version, but uh, this was a pretty solid release. They also had a couple other ones that didn't come across my I think didn't come across my desk, but they had another pretty solid year. Kind of new milestones, more progress in this popularity, uh, despite some high-profile graduations.
Yeah.
What was your assessment? I think even tangentially of like the year for AKB.
It was still pretty consistent, but it was really met with a lot of like s- kind of end of an era stuff, because you're starting to see the last of those really popular original set of girls graduate, who people were like, they're never gonna leave. You're starting to see the girls who people were like, oh, they're never gonna leave, you
Yeah,
know. So there was a lot of that kind of going on, and like I said, AKB goes through these ups and downs, um, as a group, and I think right now it's really muddled and in the middle. Um, this wasn't one of their strongest releases, but it is really a good one, like you said. It's a really good one. Um, and but at the same time, it's like I said, it's met with a lot of weird kind of not knowing how to feel bits about it because one of my favorites, Oshima Yuko's leaving.
Takamine.
Takahashi Minami,
Yeah.
yeah, she's leaving. And she's like been kind of the glue that holds everything together for the group, for the main group of AKB48 for the longest time. So even seeing her leave is kind of gonna be a weird thing, um, and not really knowing what to do about that, in a sense.
Yeah. So it's a big transition period for the brand that is AKB48. Uh,
Yeah,
at like the front level. So it's gonna be interesting. But
yeah.
the main thing I hope for is the best for the girls themselves. Because especially Oshima, I have been enjoying following her Instagram and her Google Plus. She she
Yeah,
she, she seems fun. She seems
she's a fucking card. I fucking love her, man.
yeah. I want to see more of her stuff. So I wish them all the best. But getting back
Yeah.
into K-pop.
See her fucking rocking out way too hard to that pop song.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe she'll do a
Right.
metal band. I don't know. Do her own baby metal. It's like well, the little girls all can do that. Like I can do that. All right, so we're
Right.
gonna go to. I think now we're getting to kind of the core of what defined the big releases this year. The big groups that defined, I think, this year for girl groups, even more so than kind of our favorites and people that we like the most. We're gonna start with AOA, Ace of Angels. It's a group that had a big transformative year, big kind of swing, big upswing in their popularity, big upswing in
Hmm.
their the quality of the releases. Um, Really kind of coming into their own this year. This was kind of their year to kind of break through. Um, and I specifically even linked an article for to kind of illustrate this. There was, and we're going to talk about this article again because I use it for another example. But there was a survey by 144 idols, kind of were surveyed on different releases this year, and specifically where AOA won. They won most improved group, and which is interesting. We're going to talk about a couple other groups that had upswings this year, but looking at this choice and then thinking back, I realized, yeah, they really were kind of the most improved group this year because not only did they have a big upswing as far as impact and popularity, but it was also an upswing as far as the quality of releases because like they really got because at least for me, like mini skirt I think was last year and that was okay. Short hair was kind of it was good, but then like a cat, the sapun sapun, that was my jam. That's still my jam. Like sapun sapun, meow. Like I'm still jamming to that, and that was a solid release, and they've kind of really had that really quality upswing. What was your impression of AOA's year this year?
Um, I can agree with the most improved thing. The the main track, I will say, which is the one that released a couple of weeks ago, is just the one I'm not sure about. Like it's a good song, but it just is.
I think it's a pretty solid release. The tough part is again,
It
it's
is.
Brave
I
Sound.
think the video just kind of
It's
like
a little silly. But I think you can say that
yeah.
about all of AOA's videos. They all have an element of silliness. Uh, I think this song itself was just really solid. And I know people are not everybody is a fan, but I like Jimin's little like broken English rapping parts. Like, you know what
Hmm.
it is. Hey, oh, hey. I'm good. I'm hot. I'm fresh. I'm fly. It's like, I can't help but enjoy that. Like, even her, like, aha, aha. Like, at the beginning of the song, it's like her, like, wannabe Birdman, like, brr, brr, like, the aha, I would love it if that was the thing that they did on all their releases. But at the beginning was them introducing themselves like we're AOA, and she goes aha, aha, while they do the wings. I would love it if that was the thing. I think yeah, they definitely had a big upswing, and I thoroughly enjoyed this song, and they had a really solid year this year. It was just AOA's transformative year, I think, and with good reason. And I dug it. And they've appeared on Weekly Idol, and they were fantastic. They're fun on variety shows, and another pretty solid year for a group that I didn't really have a big impression on before, even really this release. Like they weren't really a group that I was super following, and even now I wouldn't say I'm a super fan of AOA in generally. I just really like the song,
Yeah.
but I would say yeah, they have impressed me with this, and they're continuing to kind of impress me with the kind of their personalities. Like I always talk about, the personalities on like variety shows. That does a lot to kind of win me over, especially considering the fact that that's basically how Girls' Generation won me over in the beginning. Like Girls' Generation full on was just like I watched them take care of a baby, and I was in love with the group. Like they're hilarious and super fun, and then I listened to music after that. So that is a big thing for me, and I think it was a really nice, fantastic year for AOA. But moving on because we're kind of going really long. Moving on to another big year from a big group. Another we're talking about a subunit, and it's really crazy because we have to remind ourselves they're a subunit because we're talking about Orange Caramel. Orange Caramel
Yep.
early in the year came out with Catalina. Now, Orange Caramel was interesting because Orange Caramel was hyped by everybody else. I'm somebody, like I said, I got into K-pop more recently than Kaz or than anybody else. So Orange Caramel wasn't necessarily something that was in my like wheelhouse or in my mental kind of lexicon, in my like mental Rolodex of like groups that I knew of. They were like, the tangentially. I mean, I knew After School was a thing, and I knew they had subunits, like just by looking up things on Wikipedia. Um, but the fact that Orange Caramel was a thing, I wasn't really aware of. And then this release was coming up, and there was a lot of hype around it. And the main thing I noticed was that they had one of the dudes from Gag Concert on it. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's gonna be fun and interesting. And then it came out, and I believe it came out while we were talking about it on the show. And I immediately understood what the hype was about. Catalina was like a super fun song. It was a super fun release, a kind of super catchy song. Uh, it really kind of defined a very unique image and sound that was so super cool about Orange Caramel. And I was like, oh, okay, this is why everybody's, hyped up about them coming out with the new
Hmm.
stuff. Like, then, going back and checking out things like Lipstick, their older stuff. Like, oh, okay, this is the body work they're talking about. And they had a fantastic release in Catalina. And then they, you know, sold ice cream. And then they and then later on in the year had a great follow up with My Copycat, uh, which was another fantastically fun release. Again, a very unique orange caramel sound, very unique. Very much displays a unique personality. Uh, Different than other girl groups. Like looks like they like their idea of a sexy outfit is a t-shirt, a big t-shirt with a girl in a corset printed on it, which is
Hmm.
fun. Uh, yeah, Orange Caramel just had a really solid, fantastic year. Like appearing on variety
Yeah.
shows, Nana was basically carrying, like I said, Dwayne Wade was carrying Roommate on her back. Like she was basically the only reason I would tune in to Roommate, as well as other people. Like, especially once Park Bond left. But yeah, another solid year. What was your impression of Orange Caramel's year this year?
No, Orange Caramel like impressed because it wasn't one of the things I knew a lot about, but it was something that I thought was impressive.
Yeah, there were two really fun songs, and there are I think really kind of showing they are way more they are more popular than the group they're spawned from, and I wonder if at some point they're gonna have to go ahead and baby metal themselves out of that group that they're saddled with, because we loved and we were impressed by Orange Caramel. Uh, who did we not talk about this year? After school. Like, this is a subunit. They
No,
had two releases this year. They had two comebacks. After school, I don't believe have had a comeback this year, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think that they should go ahead and leave after school and just be Orange Caramel. That's I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Orange Caramel is irrelevant. I'm just saying.
hmm
Uh,
I mean, after school is it is this thing that exists in the mythos of K-pop, but it's just funny in a sense that this subunit, which usually the subunit is like, oh, the other girls are off doing other things, but these ones are still going to do music, right?
yeah.
Whereas it's just like everyone else is like, man, Orange Caramel is really amazing. Oh, what's after school? like after school becomes the second thought, and it's just weird. It's just
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I think, like I said, Orange Caramel is fantastic. And Nana is fun and hilarious and adorable on Roommate and on other variety shows. And and we've talked about her extensively, how she's gotten a lot of flack about her personality, but I don't understand. She is so super fun and so super sweet and adorable. And I hope for the best for more from Orange Caramel. And you know what? If after school wants to get together and do something really cool and interesting, and even if it's like not because they're more of a interesting sexy girl group, if they do something solid, I will congratulate for them. I will congratulate them, even though they got the rumors of a graduation impending, graduation whatever, impending, but. I do hope good things from that, but I love Orange Caramel, the bestest. uh, but yes, another group that I think very much as a group, but I think even more so as individuals, had a solid year just in general was Sistar. Sistar had a couple of solid releases, especially starting off with kind of their summer jam, the hot summer jam, "Touch My Body," which I would do gladly. Um, just tell me where. It's like "Touch My Body," which gave us the wedgie dance, amongst other things, but was also a really solid summer jam and really fun song, and really kind of showed their really unique, sexy style, and why I've dug Sistar, because they're kind of their own thing. There's so much about Sistar that is atypical, like they're not scrawny and they're not they're that Hyorin, for kind of uh, all of her kind of rumors of her having actually gotten work done, she still is not like your prototypical standard K-pop look. She has darker skin and they don't slather on the BB cream, and they're all solid singers except for Dasam. But they're just an interesting group. They put out some fantastic releases, some fun releases, and of course the wedgie dance. God, but yeah, they had. It still doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else I can say about Sistar. It's tough because Sistar is just a fantastic group. Uh, that puts out some solid jams. Like, were you
Yeah,
impressed by?
like Sistar is another one of those established groups that just they fucking when they come out and they hit it and they fucking do it right. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, the Touch My Body was a
there's
summer jam. Yeah,
yeah,
but as you were saying,
like it's just I fucking love Sistar, man. Like they're so good at like what they do.
yeah,
They're
there's.
fun. They're like
Oh my god, those shorts.
I love it. It killed both of us. Like it just like we just well automatically any thought, any process of using our brains automatically stopped. We're just
When
both
Bora
like
was walking away with those shorts, I'm like,
yeah.
hello there.
Right. But no,
uh,
like you kind of at this point in their career expect Sistar to be consistent.
yeah,
You know, like
yeah,
it just is what it is, man.
yeah. They're
Like
just a fantastic group. They are one of the. They are now like on that top tier of like the top tier girl groups. In K-pop, like specifically digitally more than anything, and we're going to talk about kind of that in a second. But they are in that top tier, and even with their solo releases, even with like uh, kind of their different works, their collaborations. I mean, we're going to get into kind of their collaborations in a future episode, but uh, yeah, it is. They're just so fantastic. I mean, there's only so much we can say about how much fun Sistar is. Like, Touch My Body was a fantastic jam. I Swear was a fantastic jam, and the album that this was on, which had all those really cool remixes, including a remix by Glenn Check, which was absolutely fun. A remix of Touch My Body by Glenn Check was really solid. Like, it was all really cool and interesting, and like, yeah, more great stuff from Sistar. Uh, yeah, that's all we can kind of say about that. Sistar is just fantastic, and they are just absolutely lovely. Again, the thickness. Kyorin's legs, god damn it. But yeah, now to kind of the big releases. Now we're going to talk about kind of the big releases and transformative years. Let's talk about Girls' Day first. Okay, I'm going to rearrange something. Let's talk about Girls' Day because I think I figured out the flow. Okay, with Girls' Day, they
mhm.
are another group that had a pretty kind of interesting upswing in their popularity. They released their track "Something," something early in the year, and absolutely kind of broke through into that next level. Uh, and it was early in the year, and they really kind of turned heads at the beginning of the year, and were able to kind of really follow up solidly. I think this was beginning of the year. Yeah, absolute beginning of the second day of 2014. They came out with something. Uh, it was kind of at this point it has 9 million views on YouTube. Uh, it has put them on the map, and then have followed it up throughout the year with kind of other work. He had on the on variety shows, them on variety shows, and constantly putting themselves out there, growing their brand, and it's been actually pretty cool. Like Girls Day wasn't a group that necessarily was on my radar, except for like being on that episode of Running Man where they abandoned you, Jay Suck, before the last mission,
Yeah.
and he had to champion the whole group the whole time, by himself. Uh, but they had some pretty solid releases. They had Female President was a fun song, but this year was definitely a transformative year for them. What was your impression of kind of them this year?
It was kind of a meh year for Girls' Day. Like, you got a couple of songs out of them. They did the standard, do a couple of variety shows, and then okay, like, and then that was like, and then I guess get ready for next year. Like that's just it. Just seemed to be like, boom, boom, boom. Okay, boom.
Yeah, I think as far as releases, I guess I can see that, but it definitely it worked for them because they definitely lifted a new level as far as their popularity and kind of mainstream appeal, especially Harry. Uh, they kind of upgraded this year, and they did it with pretty solid releases. And I think they're definitely geared to keep rising. They at this point kind of at the end of last year and then this year they are putting themselves out up there with kind of the close to the top groups as far as popularity, especially when you're talking about with soldiers. I think that's definitely where they're really killing it. They're hugely popular with soldiers. Like, and then
Yeah,
for those that know that that is one of the things you kind of do as a girl group is you start to get popular with, the armed forces. You go do military bases and you make quite a bit of money with that. Uh, quite a bit of popularity with that. And Sojin is adorable and beautiful and gorgeous. I'm crushing on Sojin. Uh, but yeah, let's go to I think the big three that we're going to talk about. Uh, we're talking about our personal. I think one of the two biggest ones, and we're going to talk about the one that was I think the biggest transfer, like the biggest upswing as far as popularity. So let's talk about first the kind of the big ones.
hmm
21 had finally a new album this year, and it definitely delivered on the hype, and it definitely was worth the wait, and it was their album Crush. We finally, after so long, waiting for a new actual album from 21, uh, we finally got one.
yeah.
Uh, and it definitely
So
did not disappoint. It was a fantastic release, fantastic tracks off of it, fantastic performances, a little bit of controversy, uh, but overall fun. What was? I mean, looking back at 21's year, what was your impression of 21's year this year?
I okay, so it was a lot of up and down for me, but good God, fuck, I was waiting for this album. You know what I'm saying? And totally clear. Like this is my bias. You know what I'm saying? Like I fucking love me some 2NE1. Like I gets down on 2NE1. And I did not know I was as excited for this until I heard this album. Um, I played like this was the like till the tape pops kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like um
Yeah,
I
and
just I just enjoyed the fuck out of this, man. And it was just so weird because in that thing that we're talking about, like these two big releases were on the heels of each other.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like they were right there on top of each other, and we just as fans we just did not know what to do. You know,
it was like,
like
what's going on? Yeah, and it
right.
was just it's solidly impressed as far as an album. They it was a solid collection of tracks. Uh, as much as I had mixed feelings about certain parts of Come Back Home was a solid promotional single. They had Men Boon was super fun, like CL's solo track on there. It had a really cool, solid flow as like an album. Like it had a cohesiveness as far as an album, as a whole, which was surprising considering even like one of the tracks was just like pulled from their Japanese release, from not too long ago and just done in Korean. Like for given all that, it was a pretty solid, cohesive album. All things considered, and at 21, of course. As much as we kind of play up the idea that I'm the Soan and Kaz is the Blackjack, or whatever is want to make of that. 21 is a group that I just absolutely love and adore. Like just as far as musically. Like they are the group that I most want to see live as far as like K-pop girl groups. Period. Like I want to see them live. I want to see them perform. Like it would be a dream to kind of just see them like up close, kind of see that performance. Uh, yeah, they just had a fantastic release. Yeah.
Like, I mean, all right. So, all right. This is my thing on 2NE1, right? 2NE1 is one of those groups that like almost no matter what, it's really hard to displace them now that they've solidified their spot. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And this year was the test of that. Like this year was really the test of how hard can they fall. And like even with that, people are still like, "Yo, when do we get another 2NE1 album?" Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that is that solidification of so good and really really like hot shit. like
Yes.
like it don't get no better.
Yeah, it doesn't get any better. And it's just I want so much. And then even having not just new releases, even gaining popularity with old releases cuz uh one of the kind of the big things was this year quite a bit of exposure for their three at this point 3 year old song "I Am the Best" Nigga Che Chalaga because it was used on Microsoft Surface commercial, and it was kind of awesome, and I love it. And it was so much fun to kind of hear it in that random commercial. Like every time it would come on my TV, and I would hear that beat. And I was like, "Nigga, che, chalaka," and I was like, "Yeah, yeah," and I was just so excited. And then people started kind of actually finding out who they are, and it was cool. And like, people listening to the song, and it was being played on radio, and we get to laugh at the fact that some radio stations censored "nega." Because
Well, I mean, come on, right? Yes, we have this thing of we understand what it is. We understand the whole like underline. We understand the meaning of the word in Korean and what they are talking about. But to the outside world, right? Where you go, okay, yeah, no, they're in another language. What did they say? Oh my God, no, you can't say that. And it's like, no, it's a word in their language. Chill out. It's like, no, 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 no.
it's just I think it was a mindless decision by one person who was in charge of like, all right, nega, nega, okay. Like he wasn't even like he didn't even. I don't think that person that made that decision was even affected by it. It was just so turn of the turnkey. It was like, oh, nega, nega, nega. Okay, this person's okay. Blah, blah, blah. All right, moving on. Put it out there. Like, oh, okay. like, it was just kind of turnkey. But yeah, 21 had a fantastic year, all things considered. And we hope for the best. And we hope for the best for CL's US debut. It's going to be really fun, really good, or hilariously bad. Either way, we win. Either way, we win, and on some level. So we look forward to that. Of course, the other kind of the twin pillars we're talking about. The other big release that happened around the same time was My Girls. If it's backwards, if you can speak Korean, I'm sorry, I got a knockoff. Sunyoshide. Supposed to go the other
Yeah.
way. Uh,
This was a Hallyujuku split because these two albums came out back to back, and we're like, I'm like, yo, we got to review that 2NE1 album. And Petey's like, well, we got to review that Sunny Shade album.
yes.
Like it has to happen.
Girl,
Um,
Girls' Generation came out with Mr. Mister. Anticipated mini album. Of course, they not as much of a gap between releases, but it had been a good year since they had like a Sunyoshide Korean release. And the last one before Mr. Mister was I Got a Boy, which is, like I said, not my favorite song, to say the least. Mr. Mister, and it definitely impressed me. It was a solid release. Like I said back then, they did they accomplished almost as much as 21 did in a mini. Almost as much as 21 did in a full album in their mini. I think as far as the kind of having a solid release, the mini kept it cohesive. Nothing too kind of jumpy. Even though it did visit some different genres, it didn't jump around too much because it didn't have time to. Just a nice, solid set of tracks. I mean, they weren't. They had some really fantastic album cuts, and Mr. as a track was cool and new enough on a couple of different levels. The dance was really cool. The video was not, but I mean, you can go back to our review and talk. We talked about kind of the video. There was a lot of drama with that video, where somebody needs to tell SM Entertainment what Dropbox is, because seriously, Dropbox or Carbonite, fucking Carbonite, back up your shit with Carbonite, uh, or something. Like, there's a million backup services that you can get to not have your shit corrupted and lost. That you don't have to release this thing, but oh well. I still loved Mr. As an album, as a mini album, and as a track, uh, and it was fantastic, and it was more of what I dug from Girls' Generation, and more of the good part of Girls' Generation. Now,
Mhm.
going looking back is at this release, and kind of, I guess their year musically. What was your impression?
Um, I don't know, because all of it to me is just related in that who was going to release first thing, and then both of them really being good releases. Like we bought both of these albums and went through them, and they're both really good. Of course, for me, I listened to anyone way more than I did the Girl Generation stuff, but both albums were really really good. Really stand out like portions of the year for these list of groups that we're going through.
Yeah, and I think that's mainly to kind of defines the year musically for me. I think Mr. was just a really fantastic release, and then they kind of kept doing their thing, and they had a solid promotion. They won several music shows and kind of dominated, as they are wont to do. Uh, and I would say Tetiso was kind of a bit of a disappointment, but it was a solid release. It wasn't the best, and then all things considered, it was a good year for Girls' Generation up until the Fire Nation attacked. Until 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 they decided, until the family decided that once you start working for yourself and don't give the family a cut, you're out of the family. And they decided to kick Jessica out of the group, which was not. It was just not my favorite move in the world. It was, uh, you can go back and forth. Jessica is one of the premier vocalists on the group. If you talk about one of the things that people have said about the group is about the harmonization, the kind of the cohesiveness of 9 singers, and anybody that really understands the group can tell you that's putting a little generously, because it's 6 at best. 6 singers at best. You can disqualify Hyoyeon, uh, Yuri, and Yuna pretty much, as far as like Yuri and what, Yuna? Yeah, Yuna. Yuna, Yuri, and Hyoyeon, as far as like being constant singers, and it's mainly about Tetsuo, Sunny, and Jessica, and Sooyoung sometimes. like, uh, and Jessica was one of those people. Like, people wondered why she wasn't in Tetsuo. Why was Tetsuo and not Tete Ja or Tete uh Jetsuo or whatever? Was it why she wasn't part of that group? Because she's a competent singer, and it it was a weird ending to kind of have for a solid year from Girls' Generation, and it was a weird year for them. I don't know. Did you have any impression of kind of your reaction to Jessica getting booted?
It's silly.
Yeah,
For someone who's been in that group as long as that group has been around, and like, it's just fucking stupid. Like,
yeah.
it's just dumb.
SM Entertainment is not on our not our favorite company in the world. That's to say
Not
the
right
least.
now, no.
All
Like
right.
right now, they're fucking up,
Yeah.
and let's
Let's move
not
on.
do drama right now. Yeah,
Let's not do drama now. Let's move on to the last group because still got quite a bit to talk about. I think I'm putting them in last because I think they had the most interestingly transformative year in the sense that they really kind of had their big upswing this year as far as
yeah.
going into that top tier group level, which
Mm-hmm.
is A-Pink. Now, A-Pink was up there as a high end, high tier group already at the end of late last year with No No No. That was a solid track. It even won a couple times on some music shows. It was referenced. People knew it. It was referenced on Gag Concert because so you made it there. So they were going good. They had some really good momentum, and this year really was A-Pink's year as far as putting themselves on the map. Ape it
Yeah.
started early with Mr. Chu. First of all, it started before this year again with No 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 and with Unji really impressing on Reply 1997, and doing some work here and there. And then this year it was Mr. Chu, which was really cool, cute, fun track. We talked about it when it was released. It was exactly in their wheelhouse, exactly what fits in their fandom, and was well done. And they promoted it well, and they started to really gain momentum this year from that. And then, Unji was on another drama, Trot Lovers. They were, putting themselves out there on variety shows. Bomi did Taekwondo on a variety show, and that was awesome and fun. And, they were doing their thing. And then now they have Love, LUV, uh, LOVE, Love. And now
Yeah.
this has put kind of that stamp with this release. Some have kind of criticized, saying that they're robbing an empty house, which is kind of dumb, and they just want to be haters. I know there's not a lot of huge releases right now, but Good Boy's out there, and Yumi Ray's new track is out there, so they are impressing, and they are really solidifying their spot. LUVE Love Now at this point, they're on their 13th music show win in a row. They've had triple crowns on both on Inkigayo Music Show, Music Core, and Music Bank, as in 3 wins, 3 weeks of wins on all three of those shows. They've had show champion wins. They've had other show wins. 13 music show wins, and they really are one of their top tier groups this year. What has been your impression of A-Pink's year so far?
I mean, so I love fucking A Pink. I wasn't super into the LOVE or LUV
Yeah.
love song. But a lot of the other stuff, like see, here's the thing why for us, and I think for this year, when you go kind of from, let's say, Secret down, right, on our list, right? From Secret down, especially when you get to no. Let's take standouts, right? Secret, FX, 4 Minute, and then Girls Day 21, Sunishida and A Pink, right? Their year wasn't solidified by one or two songs. You know what I'm saying? Like, of those groups that I mentioned, like, their year wasn't just solidified by one or two songs from their album. You know? Like, they really put in work to solidify their years. And I think A Pink, out of everyone, just kind of came into this year with, like, this light shining on them that, like, almost in a sense, like, as if no one had ever heard of them before.
Yeah, like they really kind of put in put in a lot of work and really kind of solidified their spot. And
Hmm.
there was this article on all K-pop, and I really looked for other places to link, to talk about this article, but there wasn't really any other place that laid it out as well as all K-pop. So forgive us for talking about an all K-pop article, but let's go. Because it is a dumb article, they kind of put a kind of a dog bites man article about Gaon charts, overall, girl groups of 2014. Because hey, Kaz, did you know that 21
Hmm.
dominates in digital sales and Girls' Generation dominates in physical sales, therefore reflecting how they appeal to different demographics and markets? Did you know?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, like because that
Oh,
kind of shows in
because
the way that
everybody.
they
Oh,
promote.
it's almost like everybody that's into K-pop knows that, and this just shows what everybody already knew, and everybody talks about it in every comment ever. So that really, putting that as a headline, because it shows right here, digital song sales, 21 kind of dominates with Sistar trailing and A-Pink at number 3, and then follows along with Girls' Day, AOA, and Girls' Generation kind of being number 6, uh, which is actually kind of telling. Uh, and then you talk about physical sales. Number 1, Girls' Generation. Number 2, A-Pink. And then FX right behind them, 21 right behind FX. They still sell physical. They still sell well physically. And then you go to the overall kind of a combo, and the the top 3 are Girls' Generation, 21, and A Pink. And the reason I linked it is not for the kind of the Girls' Generation. We already know that part. But what I really want to talk about is the fact that A Pink across the board were right there at in the top 3, either number 3 or
Hmm.
number 2 across the board. Not just they do one well or they do the other well, because you look at both of these charts and some groups did well in one and not the other, while the other groups did well in the other and not the previous one. But A Pink was solidly in that high spot on both charts. So A Pink has an overall. It has really solidified their popularity overall this year, and I think it's safe to call 2014, I think in general, a Pink's year,
Yeah,
in my mind. Just in general. A Pink have
yeah.
really solidified their spot among that top tier group.
I mean, I don't know why I'm struggling with this, but it's kind of just it's what we talk about, right? Dominated in things outside of their wheelhouse, doing the dramas and things like that. The variety shows, they kill it every time they're on one. Like they kind of are clamored to have on variety shows. The whole like just the album and like just the releases in general and how consistent they are with it, and just everything about A Pink just is kind of this just lovely kind of fun thing that you love about K-pop. Like they are that good representative of the things that you love about K-pop.
Yeah, pretty much. A Pink, good year for A Pink. Good job in 2014. Um, so let's look back kind of overall. Let's look at a couple of things before we wrap up. Um, let's talk about some of the surprises, and we jotted a few down. Uh, and we can talk about a couple of our surprises. One of them, I think
Yeah.
for me, I think for both of us, but definitely for me, was EXID.
Yes.
It was on 2 levels. A surprise for me how much I really dug their song. It was like a time release thing with their song "We Are" or "Up and Down," uh, because it was a song that it was released. I checked it out and it was like, "Oh, this is cool." And then I kept going back to it. I was like, "Man, this is kind of my jam right now." It's like we at it, we at it, and like, uh, and we're talking about Ellie. I think when we talk about Hyuna and the solo artist release, and she impressed me with kind of her work on Hyuna's solo album, Ellie,
Hmm.
the rapper in the group, and kind of checking out her like underground rap like past like her releases in the past, checking that stuff out. Uh and it surprised me, and then I think everybody was surprised with how one single fan cam could resuscitate a single like it did for them, like 3 months after it was released. Were you was it as much of a surprise for you, kind of with Exit's kind of like booming, the popularity from just one simple fan cam?
Yeah, like, well, not even just one simple fan cam. One song that was released a while ago as well. Like it was this song they had already kind of performed and were kind of like done with, and kind of moving on to the next thing, and then just resurgence of this song to just like bring it back to the point where they're like, well, of course now we have to keep performing it, like even they said that like in their little interviews, like they have a little interview on One the K if you go look at it, where they're just like, we were like kind of looking to what was next, and then we're looking at things and we're like, oh hey look, the song went to like number 30. Oh cool. Then we look again and it's like, holy shit, it's number 12. like okay, cool. But we're still working on new stuff, and then we're like, look again, like, wait, what? Wait. And then you go get the other person, and you're like, you look. Does that say what I think it says? And you're like, hold on, let me go ask someone else. Like, does that say what I think it says? And they're like, it's number 1. Why is it number 1?
It's like, oh my god, it was an exciting, it was just exciting to kind of see this really cool like little jam gain a little bit of popularity, even a little bit afterwards. And EXID is a solid group, and I'm looking forward to more from them. They as soon as they start using the fact that this little bit of popularity kind of go forward and put out some new stuff, I'm looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to also how Ellie grows as a kind of a composer and a songwriter, because she seems like she's going to be kind of the creative force behind this group, because like she wrote this song and she composes a lot of stuff for other artists and writes some stuff out there. So it's like her kind of solidifying herself in her position there. And Junghwa is just adorable, and she's I think she's becoming my bias in the group. Junghwa. But yeah, another surprise for you. I'll let you kind of tell about the next surprise.
Yeah, it was kind of you didn't think it was going to happen so soon kind of thing, which was the Oshima Yuko graduating from AKB48, or taking her steps to graduate from AKB48.
Nobody was expecting that. Like it was
No.
the announcement was just like, it was at this event that wasn't an AKB48 event, and just like she just said, "Oh yeah, I'm graduating." Like what? What? Wait, what? What? She said she was graduating high school, or she's graduating her community college, right? Or what'd she say? And it's like, and you saw the girls in the background kind of breaking down and crying. It's like it was like they just like, what? Oh no!
Right.
And it was adorable, but it's like, yeah, it's tough.
I mean, it's weird, man. Like it's you just don't know what to think or don't know what to do, like, because this is the thing, she's been this consistent thing in the group for the longest time, and she's kind of the thing that's always there, like, and then even still, like, her and Takahashi Minami, like, are these things that you're just like, okay, those two are stalwarts, like, they're gonna be there, like, no matter how many times they take a break from this group, my two favorites are gonna be there, and then no, they're not. Like, they're gonna be gone, and I'm like, what? I don't know what to do. I don't know how to I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, it was, I can imagine. I mean, I'm not as into kind of the AKB world as you are the AKB verse, the 48 verse, as I like to call it.
Yes.
Uh,
Still never finished that anime. But yeah.
but yeah, I can imagine it's tough seeing kind of your favorites kind of graduate. You know, Oshima Yuko, Takamina, some of this, all the kind of the pillars. Even just looking at from like a tangential standpoint, those pillars kind of going leaving. But even like I can relate, I guess, in a little bit. Seeing we're gonna bring it back around. Another big surprise this year for both of us was a lot of like the big changes and breakups and like going solos. We had Jessica kind of get ousted from Girls' Generation. We had
Yeah.
girl groups kind of get disbanded, even though they had solid, releases. We had kind of, big tragic events. It was 2014 was a motherfucker. And I'm kind
Yeah.
of, as much as I loved a lot of the music releases and all of their products, I'm glad to see it end. 2014 wasn't all fun and
I mean,
games.
it's been this year where we've seen kind of some of the evil of the record labels.
Yeah,
Um,
which we're going to revisit once we talk about boy groups, but yeah.
yeah, and just like so many weird things, man. Just that just have made this year just like strange and like like you said, just the stuff with 2NE1 possibly breaking up, Girls' Generation, Spica like changing into this singular person as with, and then Spica S, and just like this not knowing what's going on with a lot of these girl groups and things like that, and fearing for established girl groups that you've known for years, that you're just like, all of a sudden they're just being talked about being disbanded, and you're like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah.
what? Like no, like, why would you do that? Like, how is that a thing? Like, you can't.
Yeah.
But it's been this weird year where a lot of this shit is going on, like, and nobody really knows what to do.
I think
Like,
it's definitely, and it's gonna be, I think, a theme throughout all these year-end episodes. I think all throughout this week. We're gonna putting out a lot of content this week. This is crazy. We're crazy people. We're gonna be talking about how this was these past couple of years, this year specifically, was a transformative time. I think it's gonna be a big pivot point. I think right
mhm.
now. It's something we talked about recently in episodes. How this is, how I've observed that this is a big pivot point. Uh, I think with how the industry works, how the industry looks, how the industry sounds, and I hope that it pivots for the better. I think if more of changing companies for the better, calling out companies that need to change how they look at business. Like hopefully the industry changes for the better. I think that's my biggest takeaway from this year. Is that it's a big era of change. Is a phrase I'm going to revisit. A big era of change, and I hope that it changes for the better. I don't know, what's your takeaway from this year, girl group
I
wise?
mean, kind of. I feel mostly the same way. Like,
Yeah,
I loved a lot of what we got musically this year. I loved a lot of the new groups. Well, not a lot of them. I loved one.
yeah,
I loved, I loved the new groups.
yeah,
And it was musically, right? If we talk about just musically, and you forget a lot of the dramaticism of it, it was a really great year for K-pop in general.
yeah.
But there was just so much background drama and sadness and just craziness that like it kills a lot of the fun that
Yeah,
we got to have, you know.
yeah,
And it kind of spaces out the fun too, because you have this moment where you're having fun and everything's cool, and then you're hit by this big dramatic thing, and
Yeah.
you don't really know how to feel about it, and then the next fun thing tries to come along and you want to have fun with it, but you're still thinking about the last sad thing that happened, and you can't wrap all your emotions around these things. So
Okay.
it's just been a weird year,
Yeah.
being a K-pop fan.
Yeah. So, and real quick before we finish up, because we've been going for a long time.
Yeah, a lot longer than I think we thought we
And
would.
God bless you for sticking with us if you have, but I doubt anybody's with us still anymore. But real quick before we wrap up, 2014, 2015 in girl groups. What are you thinking? Are you anticipating, and what are you expecting 2015 when it comes to girl groups?
Um, so the elephant in the room. I'm expecting Mamamoo to shoot up. Um, I'm expecting them to take next year by storm. Now that everybody has had their taste of them and knows kind of what to expect, I'm expecting them to solidify that sound, like I always talk about. Solidify that sound that everybody knows and loves from you, and then kind of take that, refine it, and they came out this year is what everyone has to remember. This is their debut or whatever, and that strong of a debut, you only expect to see bigger and better things coming from them.
Mm,
I want to see kind of I don't want to use the word purification, but I want to see this solidification of like keeping our groups established. I don't want any more of this kind of muddling with the groups,
yeah,
especially the established groups. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like the industry really needs to kind of sit and take a look at itself. And I mean, this is kind of gonna get reiterated when we get to boys too, but
yeah,
it needs to look at itself and really understand what it is and kind of solidify itself for what it is and what it continues to be, and like let these groups grow and do what they need to do, and pay people what they're worth, and not mess around too much,
yeah,
because it just kind of ruins the fun of it, like
yeah,
like I said before, because it makes you start to wonder if you can even have fun with it, and
yeah,
you don't want to walk away, because you kind of grow close to these groups in your fandom, but then at the same time, with all the other shit that's going on in the background, you don't really know what to do. You don't know if you still support the group, or if you just totally walk away, and it makes a lot of things mixed, and it makes it weird, because there's just a lot of this where a lot of times we're like, well, I want to support the girls and I want to support the group, but I don't want to support the label anymore.
yeah. Yeah. So and the next big thing for that is going to be with Sonamu from TS Entertainment, where I don't want to support TNS Entertainment, but it looks like they're going to come out with a girl version of PAP, which is going to be interesting. So who knows what's going on that, because they just dropped that video 2 hours ago. When they started this episode. So we're gonna have to go check that out once we caught up. But it's gonna be interesting near next year, 2015. Mamamoo, I think more from them is gonna be really welcome. Uh, Again, A Pink laying their foundation of dominance. Hopefully, 21 kind of coming back to being a solid group. If we want to be optimistic, but uh, we can only hope for the best. And 2013, 2015. I mean, it's just it's we can only hope for the best. I think we'll have to see. That's it
Yeah.
for our discussion on girl groups. Uh, it's been 2 hours. We're sorry. um, so that's it for us. We're gonna talk about, once again, stick with us this week. We're gonna talk about boy groups in our next episode. So look forward to that. Follow things, subscribe, share. We're not gonna go through all the spiel. So subscribe, share, like, iTunes, Stitcher. You know the name. You know who we are. Until next time, hasta los huevos.